Welcome to Plane Time. I'm Ben Coleman, your anchor host for today's show. We're coming to you live and in the clear from our studios in Orlando, Florida. It's such a pleasure to be here. And if you're here joining us live, thanks for getting up early on a Saturday morning. If you're watching this recorded and remote, thanks for tuning in anyway. We're here with our crew. Florida Aviation Network is a project of the National Aviation Safety Foundation. And we don't want to get wrapped up too much around all of the myriad of people that go into making a production of this nature. But the takeaway here is safety. We're here for primarily mechanical safety today for Plane Time, but we have a thread that is going to be popular with just about anyone that has any interest in aviation. And it's to fly these aircraft in a very dangerous environment safely. It can be done. Probably the most dangerous aspect of today was driving here from Lakeland, okay? Let's be honest, but there's things that we can do to mitigate the chances of having an accident in an aircraft, but it takes you getting involved with it. Our guest today comes to us with, gosh, I don't have enough megabytes on my computer to keep all the track of where this guy has been and what he's done, but the big takeaway here, when we get into introducing our guest, which is not yet, is yes, he's been there, he's done that, he's got the T-shirt, he's been very active in the industry. But the knowledge that he has tucked away, he's openly willing to share it at no cost. It's not free. It takes your time and attention to get involved with it, but it's at no cost. All you got to do is ask. And we're here to change and implement a safety culture that you will remember and carry forth and share it with others. The best marketing tool in the world, I don't care with all the social media, word of mouth. Talk to your buddies, talk to your friends. Right now we're going to talk to Dr. Jeff Edwards. Doctor.
Hey, Ben.
It's good to have you here on Plane Time, and we've crossed paths a lot, but man, I tell you, you have been there and done a lot, and you're so active. And it's good to see that you're a young guy, because you're going to be doing this for many years to come.
I hope so.
But Jeff, you're here representing a group. It just rolls off the tongue, GAJSC, and that stands for General Aviation Joint Safety Committee. Tell us a little bit about what the GAJSC does, and how do we find them?
Yeah. You can find them on the web if you just Google General Aviation Joint Safety Committee, formerly known as General Aviation Joint Steering Committee, but the name was changed a couple of years ago. Or GAJSC is another acronym that we use. Been involved with them. They were reconstituted in about 2011. There was a former group, same name, that worked for many years, and then it was disestablished. It's under the umbrella of the FAA's Office of Aviation Safety, out of FAA headquarters. A gentleman that runs it is a great guy named Corey Stevens. Two major organizations, EAA and AOPA, participate at the top of the community, as well as the FAA. It's largely a pyramid type organization with the FAA and a whole bunch of government agencies, NTSB, NASA, et cetera. And then you have aviation organizations, like I mentioned, AOPA, EAA, and many, many others. My organization, Lancer Owners, has participated, the National Association of Flight Instructors, so on and so forth. So through the years, since 2011, we've been working on a bunch of safety problems. We started with loss of control, which was the #1 killer of airplanes and pilots. Mm-hmm. And we worked on that for several years, looking at data. So we started out looking at, with the standardization audit team, the SAT team, if you will, which is right underneath the top level. Mm-hmm. And they chose a group of hundreds and hundreds of loss of control accidents that then were sent down to the subject matter experts working on a working group, loss of control. And we plowed through those and tried to understand what all the issues were in loss of control. And then as we got through those hundreds of accidents, we came up with some recommendations, some solutions, technology. We were advocates for angle of attack as a means to reduce loss of control. better warning systems, if you will, technology in the cockpit. But we also had to work a little bit with the FAA on regulations because, as you know, if you're going to put something in your certified airplane, it's got to be either part of the type certificate or it's got to be part of the supplemental type certificate. So in working with the FAA, the idea was let's get a pathway past the regulatory side and be allowed to install these safety devices in airplanes without the STC process, which then raises the cost and all the rest of that. So we've worked on those kinds of things through the years.
Jeff, I didn't mean to slight you initially because you do have quite a past, but just naval aviator, anybody familiar with the A-6 Intruder? This man has been into the bowels of the Intruder, and I just learned that he had over 300 mechanics working under him in the military for maintenance on these birds. When they're on ready status, they've got to go. And maintenance-wise, I'm going to dummy this down for me, and I want you, Jeff, to convince me. I'm now a 18, 19, 20-year-old man, and I do, was that politically correct or not? Okay, I digress, but convince me how to get involved in aviation. Why should I get involved in something that is so dangerous? And I hear on the news all the time that there's an airplane crash here, airplane crash there, people are dead. Oh my God, people are dying. And why should I get involved in an industry like that?
I'll give you a one-word answer: Top Gun.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing cooler. There's nothing that will give you more excitement, more thrills than being part of something bigger than yourself. And for me, being involved in naval aviation as a young person was just something that set me on just a great path in life. Whether you come out of college like I did and got into naval aviation through ROTC or the academy or officer candidate school and got plowed into the, I was a bombardier navigator in the A-6 or the pilot pipeline, or you come out of high school and you raise your right hand, you decide to join the service, whether it's the Navy, the Army, the Air Force.
So you don't have to go to college
No.
to sign up?
No.
All right. I just
So,
make
so
sure.
you take a battery of tests. The recruiter here in Orlando, they have a recruiting station, and you take a battery of tests, and the recruiters say, I think you might be good at X, and then of course you have your own desires, and you somehow find yourself at a training site after boot camp learning how to be a jet engine mechanic on an F-18 or the newest jet in the fleet, the F-35. And you're maybe 19, 20 years old at that point in time.
But am I going to get rich being an aircraft mechanic? I want to get rich. Am I going to get rich being an aircraft mechanic?
You're going to get rich right here.
Okay, there's many different definitions of the term rich.
Right.
But how about general aviation? We talked a lot about military, but GA, what's this thing about GA? What's there for me in GA?
Well, so many opportunities in GA. Right now, you probably heard about the shortage of pilots. There's even a bigger shortage of A&P mechanics around the country. And so many organizations, the one I'm familiar with in St. Louis, Westar, they also have a big operation out in Grand Junction, Colorado. They have an apprentice program. You come in, they pay you to learn how to be an aircraft mechanic.
That's getting more and more popular too.
It
has
is.
to be.
It is.
Without that, it's going to dry up, and a lot of airplanes are going to be parked on the ground.
Right. And so pay's going up, opportunities are going up. And it's not just small airplanes like you and I fly. It's also the big, corporate jets. General aviation has a wide range of aircraft operations, fleets, whatnot. And you find, like in your career, you may migrate from, say, flying and operating and maintaining general aviation to airline, to military, to whatnot. So for me, it was a journey from general aviation as a young teen to military aviation, but I still hung on to that general aviation thread through my military career, and then on back into GA.
Okay, I have to openly admit, this, by the way, if you're into wings credit, maintain continuity with this show. At the end of the show, we're going to give you some wings credit for not only extracting information out of here, but more or less sharing it with people. You got to share this, and this is very, very important. The FAA is a very, very strong advocate of safety. They're not just the cops. They're not the guys hanging out there to try and catch you doing stuff. And Jeff, back me up on this. This is a self-regulating industry, is it not?
Pretty much, yes.
Because the FAA is not looking over your shoulder as you're either doing a pre-flight or you're working a task on a maintenance task. They're not there, but they're in your head, and they better be talking to you, and you better be listening and said, do it right, do it by the book. There's a standard, and we need to maintain this standard. Talk to us a little bit about standards, Jeff, and what it means to you.
Standards are what we people decide are best practices. And so you can find standards just about any industry out there, whether it's medical or it's aviation or whatnot. They have a set of standards. And through experience and through the years, we've developed these oftentimes written standards. If you go to, say, for example, in the FAA world and the aviation world, advisory circulars are a great example of standards. You think that if you're going to take a check ride or a test for your A&P, that once you're done with that test, well, those things that I learned really don't matter because they're not standards. Oh no, they are the standards. Those are the things that the FAA and industry, i.e. your employer, wants you to do in the execution of your job, or in our case in GA, in the execution of your personal flight, or in the maintenance of your aircraft. So you can pick any topic in aviation, just about any topic, say icing. There's an advisory circular on it. Weather, I know that topic's coming up soon. There's advisory circulars on weather. There's advisory circulars on maintenance. Maintenance for the general aviation owner-operator, things that we as non-A&P mechanics can do. We can go out and we can change brake pads and stuff. But there's all sorts of information on how to do it properly.
The standard, and I like to use the term, some people like to say regulations. I like to use the term standard, because regulation is really a standard, and we need to be aware of those. If you're not aware, with the advent of the super information highway these days called the internet, there is no reason for someone to not be cognizant and knowledgeable on just about any subject that you want to bring up. And the FAA has done a great job with making this FAA.gov. And you could read FAA.gov for, I want to say years, and not really fully pull back all the layers of the onion to get down to the center. Learn it. And again, this is why I have so much respect for Dr. Edwards. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Jeff, please.
And he has done so much into delving into the aspects of the accident statistics and what we need to really focus on to dive into not only what causes it, but set up what's to prevent it from even coming any close to the cause. And accident investigation, Jeff and I were talking about earlier, we've investigated hundreds and hundreds of accidents, dealing with thousands and thousands of losses of life, and the impact that has on the families, and it touches so many people. And don't mistake our smiles and our jovial responses here as anything other than respect for those who have lost their lives in aviation. It's kind of the way that we maintain some sanity, because it can drive you crazy. And we don't want that to happen, because we have too much to share for you. And Jeff, how do people find you? And this is just the first segment, by the way. At the second segment, we're going to get into some meat and potatoes of some mechanical situations that didn't turn out too well.
Right.
And we want you to not look at this as being death by PowerPoint or just a boring show, but we want you to meet this man and know where he comes from and how to get to him, because he is attainable. And just because he's got a bunch of letters and alphabets behind his name, he's a down-to-earth guy. And you'll find that there's down-to-earth people women in aviation, there's another large support group. And we were talking earlier about, men sometimes can be risk takers. Ladies, not so much. I mean, they are very focused, and some of the best mechanics in the world, I know, are ladies. So we're reaching every aspect of every community, every aspect of age. There are some age requirements to become a certified mechanic and pilot, but after that, in your 60s and 70s, it's still not too late. Jeff, tell us a little bit more. I want to develop more about what makes you tick, because you're a very, very interesting person, and you built your own Lancer 4P, pressurized experimental aircraft, and not one, but you've had another one that you've been working on too, haven't you?
Yeah, I built a Lancer Evolution after my wife sold the 4P.
Ah,
Okay. She wanted a little bit bigger airplane. So we built that back in 2009.
Wow. That's so exciting, because there's an awful lot that goes into those airplanes.
Oh, there is.
It takes like 1,000 hours, I think.
I think I stopped counting at 5,000 on the first one. So
God.
it's a lot of fun. You really learn the maintenance side of things, because as you're building, a good experimental amateur builder should be thinking about, how am I going to fix it when XYZ breaks that I put all the way back in the tail? How am I going to get to that thing, like a trim actuator or whatnot? So you really have to think ahead as you're building these airplanes. But back to answer your first question, I got involved in aviation safety when I was in the service, kind of segued through a career path, and then ended up in the consulting side for the last, since the late 90s. So it's been a long journey, but like you, way too many accidents. The ones that particularly hit home and hit hard is as an investigator, whether when I was in the service as an IIC or later on.
IIC?
Investigator-in-Charge.
Okay.
So the military investigates their own accidents. So you travel the world, only missed one continent. But it really hits home when you're on the way there. You're dispatched, in my case by the Navy, to go to the crash site, and you find out that the air crew is some folks that you know or knew. And that really is tough. And so, but everybody's life that's lost or injured is a tragedy. And so the goal of these investigations is to prevent other ones from happening. So how do you do that? And part of how you do that is what we're doing today, is let's talk about it. Let's share our knowledge with folks. I'm also a flight instructor, so I try to share, one-on-one the lessons that I've learned along the way from these accidents with pilots that I'm training, and so that they take the lesson home, and I've had a little impact on changing things in their lives.
Tell you, I'm going to put you on the spot, Jeff. I didn't warn you that I was going to do this, but I am going to do it. What's your most memorable, and something's going to pop into your mind that you probably hadn't thought about in years, but most memorable, enjoyable aspect of maintaining an aircraft? Something that you have had your hands on, closed up, and what is the most exciting part about, you mentioned Top Gun, that's cool. Yeah. There's Top Guns going on all the time. As we speak, somebody is closing up an airplane, getting ready to go fly. But what impact does that have on you?
Being able to, pass on the passion to somebody else. I've got two young folks that I trained. They were in college at the time, trained to fly, actually several of them, and they all went into the military. And they all came back to me after they learned to fly, a couple of them in my little Cessna 152, and asked me, how do I get in the military like you? And you work getting them in the service, and then you're getting phone calls from them. I'm now retired from the Navy, and you're getting phone calls from them asking, what next? What should I do next? One of them now is a test pilot in the Air Force. He went through test pilot school out at Edwards Air Force Base. He's on the the F-15X program, which is the latest generation of F-15s. He's been doing the missile testing on that. It's really, really rewarding. Another young man he's up in Whidbey Island, Washington, was a Wizzo in the F-18 Growler, the electronic warfare. And he's actually getting ready to retire now. So he's been in for about 20 years. The life just marches on.
And you government guys, Wizzo, come on now.
Weapons Systems Officer.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's one thing that you got to, if you get involved with aviation, you better be ready to retain some acronyms.
Yeah. Well, the same is true with the FAA.
Oh, and there's a reason for that.
The Friendly Aviation Administration.
Friendly, that's right. Or FAA, we call it. Not FFA, which a lot of times out in the field they'd say, oh, this is Ben, he's with the FFA. Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
Jeff, let's do something. By the way, Edwards Air Force Base, any correlation there?
I don't think so.
Oh man, I gave you a perfect shot.
I don't think so.
Perfect shot.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that was Uncle Ed.
Yeah, Uncle Ed. All right. No.
Do you have anything fun pictures to show us of some of your airplanes?
I do. I brought along some. OB asked me to bring some pictures of some of the work I've done through the years. Even though I'm no longer an IIC in the service or working for a major manufacturer, doing the same thing, I still get occasional calls from the NTSB. Got one last week on an accident over on the west side. But I try to help out when I can because what we want to do is arrive at a really, really good finding. We want to uncover all the facts so that we can make adjustments in the way we maintain, operate, fly, et cetera, these aircraft.
Well, we're going to dig out some pictures, I know, on the next segment, but we want to remind people that this is cool, this is fun, and the pictures tell thousands of words.
They do.
And I know that you have got to have, between your Bonanza, let's see, you've owned and operated a Bonanza.
Right.
Of course, your Lancer, and now your Evolution.
Right.
What do you fly now?
The Evolution.
Okay, that's what you have.
Yeah.
Wow, you think it would fit into our strip in Green Swamp?
Probably not.
Oh, come on, Jeff, you can do it. You're a good pilot, aren't you?
You can do it once.
How many times, what's some of the things that they say just before the impact? Watch this?
Yeah, watch this. Hold my beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sad that does occur, but we're going to get more involved, and I do want to bring out the maintenance aspect of how cool it is to be a mechanic. Mm-hmm. And I don't know of too many careers that are more both rewarding and as well as terrifying as to, I remember waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Something's not right. I just left the airport, closed up the shop, 8 o'clock. Did I safety that filter? I don't remember if I safety the filter.
Yeah.
I don't recall safetying it. The airplane's going to push at 10 in the morning. Oh, you got to get up, put your clothes on, go back to the airport. But that's the difference of you don't just kind of roll over, it'll be all right.
Yeah.
Don't do that in aviation.
There's a lot of responsibilities, both being a mechanic, an A&P, and also being a pilot. You have a tremendous amount of responsibilities, which gets back to the standards that we started talking about earlier. And if you take those responsibilities seriously, like you were talking about, even if it costs you a little bit of time, so be it. It's probably going to save somebody's life down the road.
Dr. Edwards, what does it take to be a good mechanic? I mean, do you have to have superior knowledge and ambidextrous skills? I mean, eyeballs on the end of your fingertips? What does it take to be a good mechanic?
I think part of it is attention to detail. A willingness to be curious about things, to look beyond the obvious, ask questions. Why did this thing break? Why did it fail? Why am I replacing it again and again and again? So there's a lot of important aspects to that we really don't think about on a daily basis. But if you really want to dive into the superior qualities of the great A&Ps out there, Charles Taylor, for one, you really have to be curious. You have to take your job with a fair degree of responsibility to your customers, your clients, et cetera, and make sure that you're always doing the right thing.
and know the difference. That's the biggest thing is the aspect of where do I go for resources?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things that helped me is know where to go to find the answer and who to ask for the answer. And Jeff just mentioned Charlie Taylor, the guy that actually built the first aircraft engine. We're credited for the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
All of this, if we mention a name here that doesn't ring a bell with you, look it up. I mean, you could even go, hey Siri. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't. Oh, she answered. Sorry, dear. Didn't mean to interrupt you. But ask, go to Google, go to Yahoo, whatever search engine that really you enjoy. But I tell you about the maintenance world is soon to be. We've been talking about it for years. It's getting closer and closer and closer to where people are talking about buying a new airplane. We're going to get it maintained. Who's going to keep
That's
it
a
up
big
for you?
issue in our community, in the Lance Air world, because they're amateur built. Is one of the top of the list questions I get is who takes care of these things. There's not that many shops that do it. There's not that many people that have experience on that airframe. They may have experience in some of the systems, particularly the engine side, the propeller side, but other things they may not. Fortunately for us, we have build manuals, and build manuals are great for using as your repair manual. Mm-hmm. But it's a concern for us.
I have a prediction to make, and I don't like to be right on my predictions, but we're going to see more and more maintenance-related accidents, and it's going to cause a lot more, from the investigative standpoint, to be much more observant than we normally are. But people are going to, it's just human nature, they're going to try to cut corners. They're going to try to, get their itis, and I really know I should have pulled this caliper off and gone through it, because it's had a little bit of a leak, but it's okay. It's not that bad yet. So we really want to pull that into our second segment, to go into some of the details and see some photographs, and rather than the talking heads. I know you like listening and watching talking heads, but particularly with so much head to expose. But we really want to see some pictures. And this, you mentioned Top Gun. It's cool, and it is cool being in aviation. And we want to see some airplane pictures and get into what you have done investigative-wise, and just learn more and more about, again, how accessible you are. And that's what I want to, the big takeaway on camera 2 is we're going to get back onto Jeff's background, and it's not just the safety committee, but all of the other things that he's involved with. He's got alphabet groups just all over the place. But Jeff, let's wind up this first segment, and we're going to go back to the second segment. Remember, Wings credit, stay in there for the code. I'll just go ahead and give you the code now. Did you get that? Okay, well, we're going to get it at the end. See you next segment.